feel so weary when troubles come and my heart burden be. You raised me up that I can stand on mountains. You raised me up to more than I can be. I sang this song last month at an elder's home, and the response that I received from the audience was so unexpected. Contestia, ladies and gentlemen, I come from a middle class family with extremely open handed parents who always said how me and my brother were lucky. And giving out to the misfortunate was not a choice, but it was the way of life. So that made us walk into the nearby to give them some meals and to spend some time with them. One day, there was a newcomer to this elder's home. Very familiar with the people around, we were singing and entertaining them. But in a corner, there was a lady seated, and she was about 70, very old, very thin, and she had silvery short hair. And she was gazing at the window as she was expecting someone to come. And I saw something else as well. The cutlet and the sandwich that we have given her was nicely wrapped in a paper serviette and was kept in a corner. Now, I really wanted to know why this was. So I went near her, sat down and asked, "Atama, why don't you have your meal?" And she said that it was for her youngest daughter, Ramali. She smiled to me, but her eyes were filled with Her eyes were filled with tears. There were 3 Barbie dolls which she caressed, and then she hugged them tight and broke into sobs. But I touched her and reassured that she could open up to me because she was precious to me. Finally, this lady raises her mellow voice. "I'm Mrs. Fernando, a retired teacher. I have 3 beautiful daughters just like you. And there were some days, me being a widow, single-handed, raising up 3 beautiful daughters wasn't an easy task, but I still did it. And you know what, Puta? There were days that I used to watch them eat, and my hunger was pacified looking at them." Now, I couldn't speak for a few seconds, and I really didn't want Mrs. Fernando to know that her youngest daughter, Amali, would not be coming today, because she was simply living overseas. Days passed by, Mrs. Fernando was not mentally or physically fit, and one gloomy day, when I entered the elder's home, I got to know that Mrs. Fernando had passed away. The funeral had to anyway take place. So the elder's home calls these 3 well-educated daughters, and any idea what they said? Well, it's very impossible to come back to Sri Lanka because I'm busy with my daily chores. The funeral took place in the outskirts of Anuradhapura in a very small house, and there were so many people who came to pay their last respect to their beloved teacher, Mrs. Fernando. In the coffin laid those 3 Barbie dolls, beautifully tucked in. And then that was Mrs. Fernando's last wish. I was thinking to myself, did Mrs. Fernando ever think that those 3 daughters would take and will never make it for the funeral, and those 3 Barbie dolls would take their place? I'll let you decide. Any idea as to what I saw at the funeral? Well, I'm sure that you won't believe me, but the girls were present at the funeral. Not physically, but visually. This incident shocked the whole crowd in the funeral because these girls were condoling the loved ones through Skype. Yes, you heard it correct. I said through Skype. 3 big screens, and there they were. Parents are the people who brought us into this world. They nurtured, educated, and taught us right from wrong. And come what may, they were the guiding light through life's bleak path. The sleepless nights, the agony and torment we put them through, the world of patience they bore for our sake. After a life of sacrifice, is it fair for us children to just abandon them in an elder's home? Ladies and gentlemen, we can't do this to them. When I was singing, "You Raised Me Up" at the elder's home that day, I saw tears dribbling down in many eyes. Before I leave, if they raised us up to more than we can be, why can't we raise them up to more than they can be? And remember, they are precious. Over to you.